Okay, gang, here we are back for part 2 of building the QRPme PocketPAL 2 Plus. We've got all the capacitors, the resistors, the diodes in the inductor. They are all put down, inserted and soldered in, and you can see that for the most part it's pretty flat. A couple of capacitors like that, tantalum stick up just a little bit, but overall it's not too bad. So now what I did was I took the remaining parts and I sorted them out and I put them on a clipboard. So here are the last of the parts that we have to put in. These are all the incidental things. I'm going to take a quick picture of this for the website. So I mean, we got roughly 16 more parts to put down, and that will be it. So I'll move that off to bench left. Bring the board back on. So now, because all the parts that we have now are all really kind of weird heights and whatnot, and it's not going to be flat again, I'm going to put on my 4 little board holders until we're going to do that. Use these until we can't use the board holders anymore. I think we can probably get the rest of this board done with these board holders. I'll put this one a little bit further back. So now when I put the parts in here, but when I turn the board over, see, now it's still going to remain flat because these little screws keep the board up off the bench, and it gives enough clearance to fit all the other stuff. So I'm going to go and take the first part, and I've looked these all over and double checked them. Here's a 78L05, which is Q1, so we put that down here, following the guide for the outline. We put those in. I like to keep my TO92s about 1/4 inch up off the board, and I'm going to spread those leads a little bit, and I'll keep it in place. So now I'm going to push it down. When I go to solder, I'm going to make sure I push it down because it can still go all the way down. I like to have them a little on the high side. So now the next one is Q3 and Q6, and that happens to be a MPF 102, and I'm going to double check. Yeah, okay. So Q3 and Q6. So here's, let's see, where's Q3? Right here. I just rotated that in my finger so I can get the orientation right. There's Q3. Okay. And Q6. It's way over here on the other side. Okay, next one is Q4. I'm going to cut this off the tape. Throw it in the trash can. Q4. There's Q4 up there. This one's a little bit different because it's got that's not bad. Okay. I'll pull those out a little bit. Push it down. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Like it. And the last one. Whoops, no, I still got two more. I don't know if I'm going to put them all on right now. This is Q5. Q5 goes right in here. Okay. Spread those a little bit. Okay, and what do we got? Q6 left. Q7, where does that go? Okay, we got room for that. Q7 is over here. That one's proving to be a little bit. I got it all bent a little bit, so I'm gonna fix it up a little bit. Look, let's see how this one wants to be up a little bit. Wants to be in. That looks about the same as the. Yeah, that fit in much better. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 transistors. What Q2 isn't used? It got dropped and changed. Okay. Our iron is hot. It's been sitting here for a while I did all this other work, so I'm going to clean the tip again with the tip cleaner. And looks good. Okay. Put a little. Alright, we're going to go after this transistor right here. Remember, this is a very tight board, so a very sharp iron tip on your iron is recommended. Come on. I got a little bit too much solder in there, and it crosses. So when I hit one of the leads, and then I slapped the board a little bit, and it knocked it off. Again, trying to use just very little solder. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. Get this guy over here. And you try when you solder to keep your iron on the away side of the pad, so it's not getting close to any other pads. That helps prevent. Okay, we got one. Okay, that one right there is the one it sort of fell down a little bit, so we'll bring it up. Okay, to this one over here I haven't got yet. Yep, a little bit too much solder on that one too. It did the trick. Okay, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like we got them all. Bring my trash can in. Okay, there's one. 2. 3. 4. 5 and 6. Okay, there's our transistors in there, and they all look pretty good. Okay. Next thing on the list is X1, X2. These are the sockets for the crystals over here at X1 and X2. Okay. So, what I normally do is, well, I'm going to take these guys off very quickly. I'll put one of these sockets in and I'll insert the crystal. I'll hold it down, put the board on the ground, on the bench, and I'm going to hit one. So I'm using that crystal as a third hand, and I'm going to hit one socket pin. Okay, wait for it to cool. And look at that socket, and it looks pretty straight, but I'm going to touch it just a little bit. So I'm going to use my finger to change the attitude while I just loosen the solder on one side, and I like it, so I can go and solder the other 2 pins. Okay, then I can wait for that to cool. I'll take that out, get the other. I'll put that in again. I'll do the same thing all over with the second one. Set it down there. I can see the 3 pins sticking out nice and neat. I'll just solder 1 pin. Whoops, I'm off the board. There's my X over here. I'll solder that 1 pin right there. Wait for it to cool. I turn it over now. See, that's very, very crooked. So now I can just use my one finger and I'm going to pull it back as I heat the second side, the back side up. And looks pretty straight now. So I can hit the other two pins. So these crystals, this was the big change from the old one. The old one had a 14318 half size crystal oscillator can, I'm sorry, and then a divide by 2 flip-flop. So you can only get 14318 and then half of that as your two frequencies of operation. In this case, you can plug in any two crystals you want in the HF region. So I'm going to supply a 80 meter. There's a 14060, which is 20 meter obviously. And then I'll put in the second crystal will be I don't really have to put these crystals in right now. In fact, I probably shouldn't. So those two crystals go in there. Then we have a couple of jumpers over here, so you can just jumper one crystal in the circuit. Obviously, you can't have two crystals in the circuit. And the jumper is from this 8-pin connector. I'm going to cut two pins off. They have little indents between them. This is what they call a breakaway header. So I can find the 2 and another 2. And so I can put these down in here. Now obviously I shouldn't have put these crystals on because they're in the way now. I'm going to put them back on the board. Back on the parts board. Now this guy will go in here. And I've got to hold it down. Now this is tricky because it's not very tall. There is it's still in the parts bin. There is a little shorting jumper. I can put that on. That gives it a little bit more height, almost the same. But it also allows me to hold on to it without touching the metal. So now I can solder to it. And this is one of the other tricks I'll have to show you. I'm using the roller solder as my third hand this time. So I'll hold that down and I'll bring that solder in. Just like that. And wait for it to cool. I'll look at it. Oh, it's tilted in big time. So again, I can hold it with my finger and I'm looking at it while I reheat that one pin. Put it in position. Now that's straight up and down now. So now I can hit that second pin. Actually, these things are susceptible for heat change, and that thing actually moved a little bit, so I pushed it down. So now that's yep, that's just fine. So I'll put the other one in there, do the same thing. This is where it's getting a little tough sometimes to install the part because I got stuff all around it. So get my smaller fingers out. And I'll do the same thing. I'll put that jumper on it. I'll hold on to it. Get my solder up in the air with my little cobra. Okay, ready to strike. I'll make that and I'll wiggle it so it looks like it's straight up and down. Come on. Okay. So there's a solder in there. It's leaning a little bit on the inside, so I will. Looks good. I'll hit the second one. Once that cools, I'll hit the first one again because that was kind of a janky connection, so I'll hit it again. Add a little bit of solder to it, make sure it's a nice connection. Like it? I'll touch up the other side. I like it. I'll wait for it to cool down. You know, it's only got 2 pins, so you don't want to hit a second one. If the other one's still hot, it might actually fall out. Okay, I like that. So there, you can jumper between the two, whichever crystal you want to go in the oscillator circuit. We have one extra part down here, which happens to be the X-50 picofarad, which is a little trimmer cap. Let's see, which side is ground? This side over here is the ground, and I think that's the one that's got the rotor is connected to this guy, so we want to turn it around. We want the rotor connected to ground. That way when you adjust it, you're not adding your capacitance because it's on the ground side. Okay. Alright, there's that one down. So here's our whole circuit over there is pretty good. Over here is looking good. We got that one done. Oh, this was our header. The rest of it down there. Okay, so we can do. I didn't put these in any particular order. So I mean, I just as I discovered them, I put them in there. So now we have these tactile switches. They are rectangular, not square. So you have to look and see which way the rectangle is. And now again, these are like bowed, and I don't like. I'm gonna squeeze them and try to straighten out the leads. Get that little kink out of it. Kind of put them straight 90 degrees off the switch, and they should settle down there nice and neat. Nudge that in with my fingernail. That one looks like it's a little bent over, so I'm going to pull it in with the pliers. Same with the other one. The same thing with the resistors. I'll bend the leads out a little bit. Keep that switch up against the board. Nice and square. Whoops, sorry. Pliers and hand in the way. So I'll do the next one. Okay, those all nice and tucked away, so we'll get down the bottom side. That's in my way. Okay. Oops, that was a little too much bend. So here's where I'll use my little pliers and just a little bit of downward force while I, whoops, gee, I didn't massage those pins very well. Try that again. Okay, this one is slightly off. Still a little bit. Ooh! Okay, we'll try it for the third time. Third time's a charm. There it is. I'll wiggle it back and forth before I set it down. So hopefully it's nice and even. I'll pull these guys. Try to square the... I'm looking at the body of the switch and trying to make sure it's kind of parallel to the board. Looks good to me. Okay, let's see what else we got on the list here. Well, we got the piezo. We can put that in. That's down that neck of the woods. There's a plus and a minus to the piezo, so we got to make sure we get that oriented right. Pop it in. Spread the leads. Okay, we're getting some density here. We haven't got that many things put on. Yeah, let's solder those up right now. Put the rest of these back on. Now, really, you only need a 3 feet to make it level, but I'll put the fourth one on. So there we go. Okay, I'm gonna put the solder aside and get my stick of solder. And let's see what we go after. We'll go after the switch here first. Clean the leads. I'll solder. There's that. We'll do the piezo. Okay. Let's see what else to do the other switch. Okay, let's see, we had the, what do we have over here? Oh, I guess we soldered that in already. What else did we miss? We got 2 switches and the piezo. I guess that's all we put down there right now. So we'll cut those off. Okay. We haven't really cleaned up any of these leads over here, and they gotta be cut down. We don't want very many tall leads here because this thing just barely fits in an Altoids tin, so we gotta cut them all down. These are all substantial pins, so they have a little bit of a sting to them when they take off, at least some of them. Those header connectors. Okay. Alright, that's pretty level over there. We're doing alright over on this side. Okay. What else? Okay, we can put in this socket. There is a indicator on the socket. There's a half round which matches this little notch right there. So we'll put that baby. Yeah, she's pretty much straight down. Okay, same thing. Hold it down. Spread the pins just a little bit on both ends of the connector, or the socket. It's in there. We'll do the same thing on the 16 pin. Again, the orientation is down. There's the little half round down. And it just helps to have fingernails when you're doing this. I'm just moving it with my fingernail. So now I'll just run down those sides and get those sockets on there. Good. And I'm going to start on the end closest to me, and I'm going to go right down. That way I'm not getting an adjacent pin with solder. If I went the other way, I'd have solder. As I've soldered here, when I move the thing up, I would be getting close to that solder. Moving this way, I'm going against bare pads all the way down. Oops. Lot safer in the way of not getting any bridging action. Again, just you can see when the solder wicks down on that connector. So the minute you see that, you get the heck out of there. You don't want to overheat it. You don't want to add very much solder. So I'll go after this 8-pin connector or socket. Okay, there's that guy. I see C14, that capacitor we had left over from before, and I see a plus and a minus. There's the minus, so there's the plus. I'll put that guy in there.